Paula Gloria, and welcome to Farther Down the Rabbit Hole, broadcasting to you from rabbitholecentral.tv, which is my apartment here in Gramercy Park. There's been a lot of new developments. I hope that Harold Channer is listening, because my YouTube account has been hacked into. And what this means is this is even more than an impersonator. This means that somebody that's not pretending to be almost Paula Gloria, but has actually gotten and is posting other comments exactly with my name. And so that when people click on my name, they go into my account because they've truly hacked into the account, not just creating another account. And so that when people click on my name, they go into my account because they've truly hacked into the account, not just creating another account that is sort of like it to kind of distract people. So I'm very concerned about this, and I've created a short show, well actually a regular show this morning, discussing it as I was hanging on the line trying to call Howard Stern, just to kind of get a feeling of what was going on. I learned a lot while I spent hours trying to get on the line on the show, the Howard Stern Show. One was a real concern that Howard Stern and Robin have for the war in Iraq and what's going on. And you could see people are all looking for different strategies to try to alleviate the tremendous suffering that's going. Nevertheless, I feel one of the best ways to alleviate suffering is to just come forth in transparency. And each one of us has different things to be transparent about. For example, I was on a show yesterday with Christine Ebersole and Jim Fetzer, and the feeling of Christine going on Alex Jones' show, who I'm very critical about, because he blocks three main areas of research in 9/11 for us to understand what happened. Because if we don't understand what happened, we won't understand one of the most motivating principles for us to have gone to war. It started with Afghanistan and then went on into Iraq. We can talk about weapons of mass destruction that weren't there, but when we only have the halfway truths, we don't have the knowledge that's potent enough to really get the changes that we want. And the changes that we want right now is to end a war that is not in the interests of the entire American people. And the reason many of the American people believe it is because of these halfway hangout positions. For example, another halfway hangout position is we really don't understand science. We don't understand, for example, what zero-point energy is. We've been manipulated because the result of zero-point energy 25 years ago was seen to be threatening to the oil industry. Now, it wasn't the oil industry that came out and complained about it. Oh no. It was the academic institutions that came out against it, saying that it wasn't so, it didn't go with what we know about nuclear energy. Well, if the device is there and if it's producing more energy going out than going in, who cares what the theories are? We want to go with the practicalities. And in the same way, I always tell my viewers, the practicality that you want to go with is your own human body, is the relationships that you have with others, is your families, your work, your joy, your enthusiasm, your gratitude for being alive. If that is there, then you can ascertain that you must be pretty much on the right track. This is not to say that there won't be a large amount of grief work to take place also. But I would say before we just grieve over Iraq, let's see if we can put our heads together and strain a little bit to be more transparent with each other and to encourage each other that when we are transparent and do tell these horrible, shameful things that we think people will then find us unacceptable, that we say, yeah, you know what? I love you even more for you having told me about this. And so if we can practice this within our own families and groups of friends, then we can begin to see how we can do this internationally. I think a lot of people intuitively feel that we're so far in with Iraq and we've abused so many people and so many cultures so much that they will never, never forgive us. But again, this thing can happen very quickly. And I will cite my own private, concrete example. When I was at a workshop with Marshall Rosenberg on nonviolent communication, my ex, sometimes intimate partner, Alan Steinfeld, had spent the previous weekend with another woman. Now, I was not happy about this, and when Alan suggested that we go to a workshop about nonviolent communication, I said, this doesn't have anything to do with communication or whether it's violent or not. There's nothing to communicate about. You want to be with her and not with me. So when we took it, anyway, he convinced me to take it, there was a moment where the facilitator was asking Alan what his feelings were. And Alan, being very Jewish, very smart, very intellectual, was saying everything under the sun except what his feelings were. And when the facilitator, who's been so well trained by Marshall Rosenberg, really sort of, held his feet to the fire, Alan finally said that what he felt at that moment was he felt scared. As soon as Alan said that, boom, my heart bursts open, instant forgiveness. He could have been with 1,000 women on 1,000 weekends. Just to have that connection of empathy was all it took to make a huge shift. And if you think that international affairs are thorny, really take a good serious look into how you behave in your personal relationships. You may intellectually not want to be jealous or possessive, but when push comes to shove and your man is looking at another woman, how are you really feeling? And so any skill that can actually open the heart under those circumstances, I would say, is a skill that can most certainly be applied on an international level. So, since it doesn't look like Harold's calling, or maybe I wasn't plugged in, I think I'm going to end this stream now, unless you want... Oh, you know what? Rabbit Hole Central!
Well, it's only me.
Only you.
You were having a good monologue going. And
Thank you, Harold.
I was just getting up.
Did you hear what I said about my account being hacked?
Yes, that's very disturbing.
It's worse than an impersonator who is sort of pretending to be me, because when you click on the name, then you go into this sort of pretender's site. And in this case, you go directly into my site. And even my sister, Harold, got a video yesterday about Hugs for Harlem, and it said in the email that she got something really sweet and nice, and would you comment on it? And so, being that I don't often make requests of my sister, she took it seriously and she starts watching it, and she goes, well, I don't know why Paula's sending me this, because she's not doing the interviewing. And it was about, as she said it was like watching a UNESCO video or ad. And this was a show that, when I listened to the Howard Stern people, the prank caller was talking to Howard Stern about the different shows that they used to prank call. And one reason I wanted to work with nonviolent communication was so many producers, Harold, at MNN are afraid to take calls. And I thought if I could use these skills of NVC, I could encourage other producers to start taking live calls. That was my dream. But he was telling Howard exactly about the show Hugs for Harlem. So it makes me highly suspicious about who's hacking into my account.
Absolutely. What is it again? It comes up, it's somebody who poses to be you.
Well, it's like when I looked at my account and it said recent ratings, and they had a whole slew of Hugs for Harlem. And I've never done anything. I've never even looked at Hugs for Harlem. Not that I have anything against Hugs for Harlem. I just, as you know, I go in and out of MNN and try to prioritize my time with the shows that I feel, can really help with my work. And if other people can help others, I let them do that. Yeah. So I prioritize myself. If you seem to be in a pinch, I go out of my way for you.
You come through like a champ.
Yeah.
Time and time again.
So I don't have the time to pay attention to Hugs for Harlem. Now, if they wanted to say, hey, Paula, I want some skills with nonviolent communication because I've got these scary punk callers that are then taking that material and putting it on Howard Stern and having a good laugh, I would work with them, because I also think it's important to have a good laugh at yourself. Humor is very important. So,
it's essential. I would be stark raving mad if I could not laugh at things.
Exactly.
I think Shakespeare said it too.
Exactly.
But what I'm trying to get at, I don't quite understand what you say. They like I'm now on your stream, name and I'm at your site and I go to Rabbit Hole Central, there's you and your stuff. Now there's somebody who's presenting your format. Your format?
Harold, it's not my rabbitholecentral.tv. It's my youtube.com/Paula Gloria.
Okay.
And I don't have any control over that. I'm completely dependent upon YouTube to clean that up.
Yeah. Have you tried to get in touch with them and let them know?
Yeah, I haven't gotten any response, but you know what? I have 250 emails. As soon as I miss one day.
Feeling like you were lost in the bush? That was a James Joyce line, you know.
Harold, it's really good to hear your voice, by the way.
It's always good to hear your voice. And
I don't know if it's always good to hear, because I complain a lot.
It's not, maybe it's a mix-up.
Well, what Rosalie told me is she thinks this is definitely material to go to a lawyer over, so I'm hoping maybe Michael Smith can help me out. Because I know he thought it was too ambitious to sue YouTube. But then, remember Gisela Weishaus? She sued the whole country of Switzerland.
Yes,
She's
trying. It's a hard...
But she was the first one, Harold.
I couldn't hear you, what?
Gisela was the first Holocaust survivor to sue.
Be named on as a Holocaust survivor, and then she was fiddled out of the money that should have been coming to her.
But I don't know. But I don't know if you realize in editing, sometimes when you do the show, you don't pay as much attention as you should. But in editing, I realized that she was the first plaintiff to come forth to ask for her money from Switzerland that her father put there. It wasn't. I always thought it was like reparations for being so bad to the Jews. They were just wanting their money back.
That's part of the context of understanding it, but no, they had actually deposited real money in the account.
Right.
Then people got wind of that. Now there's a whole bunch of people with this Sharpies. It seems her claim is that the Sharpies just, outmaneuvered her or fiddled her out of the money that should have been coming to her and took it for themselves.
Well, she's going to be on my show again.
That's commentary,
Because a lot of people say, well, you're not the real person. How do we know that you were really the one in Auschwitz? So she's going to bring candlesticks and wedding pictures and a lot of evidence that she was a prominent member of her community.
But if we could, back to this other thing with YouTube. I'm sorry, I was
Thank
thinking of your website.
Thank you.
What is it? Somebody types in that they are you? And or is there another person named Paula Gloria? Could that be the mix-up? Or I don't quite understand how they've
It's like they have my password.
Oh dear.
And they're in my account. It's like that.
And they are. So they're changing your...
And I know what they've done. They sent to my sister a rather boring... No offense to Hugs for Harlem. Like I say, if Hugs for Harlem's out there and listening to this, I so much want to work with you. If you want to work with nonviolent communication and to give you the stamina and the backbone to take these punk calls from Howard Stern.
Yeah. But I'm trying to understand. So somebody's gotten into your identity, and they could edit, they could take things down,
yes,
post it and everything.
they can. But you know what?
Is that the fact, honey?
Yes, you know what really bothers me, Harold? It's not taking it down because I've braced myself. Nico Haupt said it's like losing a girlfriend when they take your site down. And all the people I'm hanging with, so many of them have had their sites taken down. Here's what disturbs me, Harold, that they will go on someone else's site and twist something that I'm saying and make it look really bad or hurt somebody. I don't want them to hurt somebody. Because I deal with really grisly topics, but I always want to lift people up and to encourage them and bring more joy in their life and more confidence and more charity, help the homeless and don't be in despair about the stock market crashing and all of those other things.
Yeah, I understand. You're such a light onto the world, as they say in some of the writings.
Thank you, Harold.
Really bad that they've been able to do that. By they got your passwords, so they're into your site, and then they can manipulate what you have on your YouTube account.
Right, and they can
really bothersome.
They can go on others.
I wonder how YouTube deals with that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Harold. You're working on ACAP with policy, but I think to have a real teeth in policy, you have to have capital ownership. That's what I'm afraid.
Well, you mean, okay. Well, that's really worrying.
But the brights,
thing as large as YouTube, people try to do that.
Well, according to Truth Sleuth, it was YouTube itself that owned by the manipulators that are also manipulating. I looked with Rosalie at that colonel talking about cyber warfare.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going deeply enough into the comments. I would treat a show with him very differently.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your wonderful heart, your gentleness with him, your diplomacy. But I don't think he's really the person that we need to deal with. I think he really believes.
It would be at a higher level.
Yeah, I think he.
As far as that's a huge subject, cyber warfare.
I know.
And now if they've stolen gotten into your account that way, that's an aspect of cyber warfare.
Right.
And so, but he's a light colonel, and so there would be somebody higher up the chain
Right.
of command. Somebody named Wynn had changed to where they bring the cyber warfare into the panoply of things that the military branches are concerned with. It would be coming from a higher
You know, I listened to Howard Stern for hours today, and at one point he and Robin were talking about the war in Iraq, and I could really feel that Howard Stern really wants to consider deeply strategies to get out of Iraq. And I'm just putting on the table that you can't have halfway knowledge. That's why Jim Fetzer thought that I was aggressive with Christine Ebersol when I said, why did you go on Alex Jones's show? And I didn't mean to criticize her. I just meant to illustrate that when there is a group that's blocking important research, if you help that group, you're helping the blocking. And I think this is something Frank Craven doesn't understand, and a lot of other people, and even with Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones' theory on thermite blocks the other research into the TV fakery that then points to the advanced weaponry that then is explained by science that we've been denied. We don't understand the ether. We don't understand the vacuum, whether it's there or not, the black holes, the Big Bang. With inadequate scientific explanations, we can't fathom the way advanced weapons work. And if we can't fathom them, then we don't believe that they're there.
Yeah, that's a problem because there's a lot to know.
Yeah, there's a lot to
know.
know.
To know, and all the nuance of knowing all there is to know is
but
probably, unfortunately, beyond our ken. We can do it within a certain system.
With ACAP.
Understanding.
With ACAP.
Well, I wasn't thinking of that so much as just generally. I don't know that it would be appropriate or whether that's a policy thing that involves the YouTube or if it's somebody violating by hacking, and they're really good. They can be really good. Then that could you wouldn't want to have somebody so adroitly to hack the code that goes toward the ability of the President of the United States to unleash atomic weapons and push that red button.
You know what, Harold? I trust some of the hackers more than I trust, the button pushers. The ones that have the official power. That's why I think binary economics is so important.
Right, yeah.
We need to distribute the capital ownership so we have less of a fear and a danger of this happening. More intelligence in positions of power, greater diversity of strategies in positions of power, I think will better serve our survival.
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right, and it's a democratic model. But again, the democratic model of full transparency and so forth, there will have to be, given the fact that things are transforming or transmogrifying, if they are and so forth, when you have a large paradigm shift, is again that example we took with the lieutenant colonel is you've got to have, you can't have, he favors, I've had talks with him after we went to a talk, to the degree possible, a totally open, transparent society, and most people do, but there are certain things, like I just said that before, you don't want to have the code for the setting off of an atomic attack in the hands of just anybody.
But don't you see, Harold, if you can prove that we were watching cartoons on
His
Harold
left him and he's so upset, I'm going to do it, let's blow
Harold,
up the world, and he's able to do it
Harold,
the President of the United States.
But Harold, it's already been done. We were watching cartoons on 9/11. So that is criminal.
Well, then that
And
would
Stephen
be,
Jones is protecting it.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Form of warfare, or they can, is that somebody could just send a thing that sends off huge parts of the electric grid are now turned on and off by code.
Do you think, Harold, that I could get him on a show with me, or at least to call in, or his email?
No, really. I'm talking strategies.
Yeah, Harold, I used to teach transcendental meditation at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, so I know those military types. I want to create connections of empathy. If I could get his email, maybe I could send him a couple of these shows and ask him for his opinion. Because I think we really need to pull together as Americans and not look, with fear at the other person's strategy. He may think, just like Christine Ebersole or Stephen Jones or other people, that half knowledge is okay. He may really believe that it's okay to be pulling down the sites that are showing TV fakery during 9/11. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he believes it's correct.
Yeah, I think that's a good stance to have, is to give everybody as much the benefit
absolutely.
of the doubt as you can, to allow in the fullness of time
Oh, Ryan, let me introduce
what
you.
they have to offer to come out.
Harold, I want to introduce you to somebody.
Oh, all right, fine, great.
This is, what's your last name again?
Rodriguez. Ryan Rodriguez.
This is, okay, you met Ryan Rodriguez.
I'm not sure if I have, probably.
Okay.
But
Yeah, we watched
sure
the Grammys
I
at your house.
quite recognize you, young man.
Oh,
have we met? Maybe
Harold,
you would know because...
Harold, at the Oscars, he came over with Nico Haupt during the Oscars. When you opened up.
Oh, of course, yes.
You were so
I thought
kind.
I recognized him. How are you? It's good to see you, man. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you,
Forgive me for my lack of recognition.
It's okay.
Well, this gorgeous, handsome young man is now going to.
It's not fun.
He's going to master binary economics.
I'm going to read the book.
He's going to read the book. Okay, Nico, you want to say something?
Yeah, he's also homeless. It's not fun, Harold.
Okay.
Not fun.
Okay, Harold, you're right. Thank you, Nico, for reminding me. He is the fourth person now in my apartment at the same time. There's me and Webb Ferry in the bed. Then there's Nico and Ryan's on the floor.
And AQ Al-Qaeda.
And AQ Al-Qaeda.
I was sleeping in the subway last week.
Hail, the gang's all here.
So,
what the heck do we
but you know
care?
what?
So forth.
You know what?
Your friends soon.
You know what, Harold? I remember there was an Irish saying that a house with love has elastic walls.
I know they have another thing where may all your roads be downhill. I think is another one.
Yeah, but I cannot jerk off here. I have no chick anymore, and my DVD porn collection is still stolen. Don't get back at the end of the week.
No, you go down like that.
I call the police on everyone who's brought me to the situation. Does that sound good for you, Howard? I cannot jerk off. A. B. My porn collection stolen. C. Because of 4 people around me, I can't even watch porn. And I have no date, and all the chicks are stolen by Ryan and AQ Al-Qaeda, which is okay with me. And all the bartenders, which I try to get my video, vanished mysteriously. So I have no private life anymore. Which is not a big problem. I just want to have sometimes some enjoyment. Putting my hand on my dick or in someone's pussy. Sounds good for you, Mr. Harold Shanna? And every time I see your fucking little friends, I will spit in their fucking ugly face. Transgression humor, look that up, it's on Wikipedia.
Okay, but
fuck off.
They're not. This is transgression humor, believe it or not, Harold.
Yeah.
It's a little intense, and
that's reality.
That's reality too. But let me tell you, one of the hackers or the impersonators is talking about a guy named Nick Zed, and Nick Zed is a friend of Alan Steinfeld knows him from the East Village. So Nick Zed believes profoundly that I'm a CIA agent. So I asked Alan if he could get Nick Zed on my show so we can clear this up.
He's a homo too.
But the point is we just saw a demonstration of transgression humor, and yes, it is very intense, and there's also huge reality behind real humor.
Nick Zed's a former transgression who sold out, putting his fucking dick into my group and fucking homosexual.
Sit down.
Former.
Sit down, Nico.
Henry Rollins from Air America.
Look, there's your screen.
Yes, gotta tell it to Air American homo friends, yeah? Henry Rollins sold out. And Nick Zed and him had a homosexual affair. It's confirmed by Reverend Jen. And the friends of Reverend Jen, even stalking me right now, it's the same fact. Nick Zed is a fucking homosexual homo, okay? Fuck you, Nick said, you fuck pussy.
I mean, Harold, you know what? I can't believe that I'm feeling as balanced as I do. I mean, you know, I remember actually when I did transcendental meditation, we used to be really picky about, you know, being well-dressed and having a lot of space and no bad vibes around us. And you don't want anybody to, you don't want animals in the room, and you don't want anybody to touch you because you're going to get drained. And then when we had the big flying event in Fairfield, Iowa, I think in 1981 or 80 or something, and they're pushing more and more people into the flying hall, and we're on the foam rubber, and pretty soon when you lie down, there's absolutely no way you could lie. And then you have to worry about if your feet are pointing at someone or someone's feet are pointing at you because you're getting the bad energy off the pointed feet.
Yeah,
so all of a sudden...
Some cultures have that really strong.
Oh, I know. Well, so Harold, at one point, we are so packed that we're like sardines. We have to be head to foot, because it's that crowded on the foam rubber. And all of a sudden, bing, something happens, and you just go into in total bliss. You're completely connected with the thousands of people in the room, and everything is fine. And so that's the model I'm using when you say scarcity's been transcended, that there is enough for everybody. There isn't a population, overpopulation problem, but that with more diversity, we're going to have more of a chance for survival.
Yeah, I've never experienced something like that. And maybe at Woodstock there was a bit of that kind of feeling where everybody was in sync. Or when you get into music, one of the great metaphors is music. If you're playing and then you hit that magic thing where everybody's in sync,
right,
and everybody's going, you get into a kind of transcendental state, I guess, that kind of thing. But that rubber mat, that's where they do the levitating or something?
Yeah, but you know what I heard when I went to Columbus, Ohio, from somebody that was really close to the manifesting master that I studied with. He said that the manifesting master said that Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, through transcendental meditation, set back real spirituality by 200 years. And he never told me that because I have such a big mouth and I would discourage people. But when I got to thinking about it, it made a lot of sense based on, like, for example, now, I'm violating every principle I knew from transcendental meditation to keep a holy, pure atmosphere. You know, you just saw Nico Haupt's artistry, or, I mean, he'll be offended if I say that, but whatever it was that Nico did is not bad vibes. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to get out of war. We are at a country at war, and the war is not serving us. It's not in the interest of the American people. It's not about oil. 25 years ago, we could have had access to a technology that would have made that argument completely irrelevant.
Nick said it's a fucking homosexual homo, okay? Fuck you, Nick said, you fuck